nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First-rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Hello and welcome to the Managing Madrid podcast. We are live on YouTube shortly after Real Madrid win at the Santiago Bernabeu versus Alaves 3-2. And what a roller coaster of emotions that was. We went through the whole roller coaster ride tonight of excitement and comfort, and then stress and suffering, and then the W, which is just such a classic Real Madrid way to play. Sam Leverage is walking home from the Bernabeu right now. He is joining me here to break this down. I'll be very interested to get Sam's thoughts on this game. But first, we're rocking today. See if I can get it closer. We got Vinny, Bellingham, and Mbappe all on the shirt today. That's what we're rocking. Moji-mates.com, and you can use code MM15 off for 15% discount if you're a Managing Madrid listener. These shirts are awesome. This is the first one I'm wearing. This is the first time I'm wearing this particular shirt. But if you go to the website, you can choose anything you want, almost any combination you want. Shorts, long sleeve tees, short sleeve tees, stuff for your kids, for the whole family. A ton of great stuff. Moji-mates.com. Use code MM15 off for 15% off if you're a Managing Madrid podcast listener. All right. I would like to talk about the positive things first, but I think we should go into reverse chronological order because that's kind of fresh on our mind how this game ended. And it was not the ending that we had expected had you checked in with us like at around minute 65. Sam, please walk me through the entire roller coaster of emotions. You were there. I want to know what it was like.
Hey, Kian. Oh, yeah. I mean, I spent most of the last 5 minutes just changing what I've been writing up to remove everywhere I said it was comfortable, where I said that Real Madrid never got out first gear. It was a very strange game, right? I mean, the way that everything came to a close at the end, I mean, almost comical when Jesus Vallejo came on with the Bernabeu chanting, saying, bring Vallejo on, bring Vallejo on. And then it didn't quite work, which I guess is kind of fair enough. I mean, it's not Jesus Vallejo's fault individually. This was about a team who were basically knocking around like a training session towards the end of the game. Vallejo came on, a guy who hasn't played for almost 12 months. It's not really surprising to see that kind of ending.
Look, as much as Vallejo will come out of this looking pretty bad and getting a lot of criticism, which I don't necessarily disagree with, like criticizing his performance tonight, because he did look a step slow. The second goal was on him. He had a couple nervy moments outside of that. But like, if you can't bring on Jesus Vallejo when you're up 3-0 against Alaves at home, what are we doing here? Like, you have to basically play all your best players all the time and not rest them. So look, and in addition to that, I will say, this kind of got kickstarted by the Alaves first goal, which was a combination of a freak goal by Benavides and Modric giving the ball away, which kind of kickstarted this kind of, anxiety trickling in of like, okay, if they get one more, this could be uncomfortable. Vinicius is off. Mbappe is off. Fede Valverde is off. That's a big one. Militao is off. And so you're running this risk now where you have to close out the game. And then, of course, 6 minutes. I don't know where the 6 minutes came from. You saw Vinny getting angry at the official about the clock at it. And I was just curious also, like, what was the crowd reacting? Like, how was the crowd reacting to all of these? Whether it was the substitutes, whether it was the referee decisions. There was one crazy one where Fran Garcia gets elbowed in the head with the goalkeeper way out of his net, and that resulted in no card. So I just wanted to also get, kind of gauge your feel for the audience too.
Yeah, I haven't seen a bit about that riled up by a referee, by some of the decisions in quite a long time. I mean, it's quite a good atmosphere. I mean, considering it's Tuesday night against Alaves, there are quite a few quite loud fans in there tonight, and the referee really didn't help things. I mean, right from that very early yellow card for Fede Valverde putting his arm up in the air, from that point on, it was kind of set the tone for the rest of the night, and from there, it was always kind of the anger, and the fans whistled the referee at half time. They did it again at full time, and I think he took kind of the brunt of that, and you could see why the players were very frustrated.
Yeah. And I don't like dragging the referee into these discussions, and I like to kind of focus on the football always. But there are games like this where it's just so bad that it's impossible not to talk about. But it's weird, Sam, because what we should be doing here is we should be logging on to, and this is where my mind was at like minute 65, 70. Really, pretty much for the like 80% of this game. I was like, this is going to be a quick one. We'll do 20, 30 minutes of me just talking about all the good things and all the confidence heading into the Athletic game. It is weird that you just kind of log on and there's kind of a weird meltdown after a 3-2 win at home. But there was a certain context to the way it ended. And Alaves actually had chances after the 3-2 as well.
Yeah, I mean, just on that note, before we move on, Kian, as well, with the referee, I mean, like you said, Vinicius was very angry about the 6 minutes, but it was kind of Vinny, like, what? We already seen that this referee isn't going to hold back. He's not going to shy away from some controversial decisions. You're on a yellow card already. It's the Madrid derby on Sunday. Why are we taking those risks? So, I mean, I think there was kind of that element, which we've seen so many yellow cards already this season. I think it's 8 now for the season, which is more than anybody else in La Liga for protesting and dissent. So there is that little bit, okay, we have to be a bit smarter in how we're doing this, and so that we don't get punished by somebody being sent off, by somebody getting suspended for a big game because of silly things like that, where it doesn't matter how many minutes there are of injury time. Real Madrid should be able to see that out anyway.
Yeah, and at this point, it's quite common to see a yellow card for the reaction and not for the challenge itself. And based on that precedent of just how things have been officiated, I can understand the frustration in a lot of ways. I can also just see the merit in, like, look, this is how it's being officiated, and so reacting a certain way is only going to get you so far. Someone on the Managing Madrid Twitter account put out this meme, which I thought was hilarious, which is, this is kind of like what it feels like right now. There seems to be more yellow cards for quote unquote reactions than there are for actual challenges that merit yellow cards. What about the positive stuff, Sam? You want to start from the beginning?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, Lucas Vazquez coming into the team, he was probably the only player out there who wasn't one of the strongest 11 that Real Madrid have, and to start like that was perfect. But I think for me, kind of the real big positive was the front three, right? And that was probably the best I've seen them playing together as a unit. I thought it was quite interesting how Rodrigo and Vinny were very, very wide for a lot of this game, possibly thinking about Atletico, thinking about their wing backs, thinking about how to make most of those spaces in behind. So I think it's quite an interesting combination to see that happen tonight of all nights, kind of a practice session for Atletico at the weekend. But I thought that was very positive to see them linking up so well.
Yeah, for me, Sam, because there was a lot of chatter yesterday. Obviously, you covered that press conference about when Ancelotti said there will be rotations tomorrow, and so everyone was expecting the rotations, and it turns out, like, he was like, "Psych, no rotations." Pretty much fielded his best 11. Carvajal getting some rest. That's one there. What Vasquez had a great game, but I think that there's actually like merit in the idea of fielding an 11 like this before the Atletico game. Despite it just being around the corner, you might think about rest and all that. My argument is that, and by the way, maybe you could have very well beaten Alaves with a bunch of rotations anyway, but that's another point besides what I'm making, which is I think this team and this 11, and particularly this attack, needs as much time together to form chemistry and get used to playing with each other, form some more synergy. And that was what we got today in the first half and some of the second half. And that was really good to see. And then on top of that, you also get some confidence heading into that game too, which was also important. So I choose to believe the optimist that I am, that once the dust settles, we get into preparations for the Atletico game, which essentially start tomorrow in training. That you just like you remember that you have a lot to build on from this game, and the team just will have to recognize, look, we just let it slip at the end. That's our bad. We should not have been so complacent. You could kind of see it trickling. There was a lot of just possession to kill time. There was the body language seemed clear to me, Sam, and maybe you noticed something different or the same being there in person, that it seemed like, okay, let's just not get injured before the Atletico game. Let's just coast it. Let's just see it out, which is fine, of course, until you can see the goal and then another one, and then disaster hits and it's DEFCON 1, like all hands on deck, and then you still like conceded more chances after that.
Yeah, and I think there was one moment in particular around 75 minutes where Mondi had the ball and was looking to move forward, and didn't really see anything in front of him, so almost just stood still and passed it sideways. And that was kind of, like you say, just keeping the ball for the sake of it, possession football. But I think as well, it's not just the front three who need to play together, but also Bellingham, Tchouaméni, who are coming back from injury, getting that whole unit of midfield attack playing together is so important as well.
Is this what we saw today? This is pretty much the closest thing, apart from Carvajal, and then of course Camavinga has to come back too. Would you say this is the closest thing we've seen to like an Once de Gala this season?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess Mallorca was probably, can't remember the exact 11, but probably, other than Camavinga, as close as you're going to get as well. But that was obviously the first game of the season. This is a team that's already up and running, players settling in, and Mbappe looking a lot more comfortable. So I think in that sense, up until the last 5-10 minutes, it's probably also the best performance we've seen this season.
Yeah, and definitely the best in terms of the link up and the synergy of the attack. I also thought, Militao and Rudiger played really well, and they didn't have too much to do. Look, the majority of Alaves' the threat was pretty much after Militao came off, so I can't really blame him for that. But for the most part, Militao and Rudiger defended that high line very well. They were very strong. And I think Fede Valverde also did his part in stopping those transition attacks. And Real Madrid looked pretty comfortable. I was curious to know, like, I just wanted to see it analytically to see where the actual threats come from. Sam, if you see my screen, just give me a thumbs up. But this should be, you can see the spike in the XG here. So this is Real Madrid, the blue line, spiking, and then all of a sudden, by the way, what minute did poor Jesus Vallejo come in?
80th minute.
80th minute. All right, there you go. Minute 85. It actually spikes around 77, and then they score, and then it spikes again, 85th with the second goal. So this is like, you can see, it was pretty much a flat line, dead performance from Alaves, and Real Madrid in full control up until here. And so that's why, like, when you analyze this game, it's kind of a weird one to analyze, and what do you actually want to take away from it, and what will you remember, a day from now? Like, literally, like, by the Atletico game, we'll have probably forgotten about this game completely. This was a game where Real Madrid just looked so comfortable, and then it got complacent. They made subs. And the question is, like, again, if you can't make subs in the 75th minute, 80th minute against Alaves with a 3-0 lead, that's actually like a worrying sign. Like, you can't be that complacent that you can't even bring on subs and rest players with a 3-0 cushion at home with 10 minutes to go. So like that, I just hope that they just recognize that they can't do this again. And this needs to be back in the back of their mind anytime they have a big league at home, and just close it out, go for the jugular, go for it. It's sometimes like it can be counterproductive to coast it in these situations, and you just need to put your foot on the opponent's throat.
Yeah, and I think that graph kind of shows it perfectly as well, Kean. One of the questions I had in my 3 questions, 3 answers was, what could we learn from this game ahead of Atletico? And really, it was not a lot, because we had that first 85 minutes where it was one-way traffic, incredibly comfortable, much more comfortable than Atleti will let Real Madrid be at any time. But then we suddenly went to the other extreme, and I don't think Atletico are going to put that much pressure on Real Madrid at any time either. So it was a very strange game in that sense. But yeah, some of the fans, as I was leaving, talking about the game and things, and they were saying, no, it's not Vallejo's fault, because this is that the club didn't sign a different central defender to bring on in that situation. And there's an element of truth to that, that the squad isn't the strongest in terms of depth and options on the bench. In another situation where you bring on somebody a little bit better than Jesus Vallejo, I don't think this game ends 3-2. It maybe ends 3-1, but it maybe ends 3-0. So it's a little bit of a strange situation to take a look at.
This is one thing I haven't mentioned yet, but I don't know if you've seen replays of it. But the Endrick kick to the balls. Did you see this? Like
Yeah, I
how
saw that.
visible was this from where you were sitting?
From where I didn't see it live, I just saw was it Santiago Mourinho, the Alaves defender. I just saw him go down. I didn't really see what actually happened in real time, but then I saw the replay afterwards, and yeah, Endrick can possibly think he's a little bit lucky tonight.
Yeah, I would say he's lucky. I think that was probably just some of the Endrick experience is also a roller coaster within the roller coaster, because the most classic thing is like as soon as he comes on, he gets the ball. It's just like almost like a carbon copy of what earned the penalty in the last game. He's getting his shirt pulled outside the box, but instead of going down, this time he just flings it, hits the crossbar. Immediate impact. He had another really good chance later on. Like this was, I think, 92nd minute or something like that. Then of course he has the kick to the balls, and he's just impossible to miss him. He is a roller coaster within a roller coaster, and some of the stuff that is not good is in part due to him just needing to mature, and he's got to get a grip on that side of things.
Yeah, and a little bit like Vinicius, he's the kind of guy that you pay your ticket to go and see, right? I mean, he came on, how many minutes did he get? 25, 30 minutes, and he made things happen. Did he hit the woodwork? I think that was him who had the shot off the
Yes.
crossbar.
Yeah.
And I mean, this was really nothing to play for, no reason to go for it, but that's exactly what he did, and he made things happen, rightly or wrongly. He made things happen, and he still ended up being one of the big talking points of the game for maybe the wrong reasons in this occasion.
Yeah. But overall, I love the energy from Endrick. It's impossible not to love him. I love what he's bringing to the table off the bench, and it's pure chaos. And it's actually really helpful to have him on against tired defenders. Another positive.
So kind of so again, just to point on that, it's almost the exact opposite of Joselu last season, where Joselu was very much kind of the target man, static, but we'll get on the end of the crosses and you can bombard the box, whereas Endrick is the guy who will be absolutely everywhere and run like crazy and still make the exact same impact of causing chaos.
Another positive, which just to remind everyone, 80% of this game was very positive and very well played. And it's kind of weird to like have arguably our best performance of the season so far be curtailed and balanced out the other way with a terrible ending. But I really like Mbappe's goal. I don't think this was a peak Mbappe game, but that goal was a peak Mbappe goal. The way he started it, the pace at which he moved off the ball to receive it back from Jude on the 1-2, and then the cut outside passes defender with that kind of pace is just ridiculous. Like it's just his change of direction, that burst of acceleration is insane. It's so quick and so impressive. And of course, like Jude Bellingham again looked fantastic. He is, I think, looked great in almost every minute he's played this season. Key defensively, passes into the box were great. Even ones that didn't result in the goal, including one great pass to Mbappe from deep in the 25th minute. Very impressed with him again. And just him linking up with the attackers, this was the best we've seen of that quartet so far this season. So that is also encouraging. I do feel like this team is getting better overall, and that's a good sign heading into that Atletico game, which, by the way, I think is still the toughest game on the schedule right now is Atletico away. And you've watched a lot of Atletico this season. You also cover them as well. Maybe just some thoughts on them. What do you think? How does that matchup look for us?
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. I think the wings in particular will be important. I think this is where it could be a huge game for Rodrigo. I mean, Atletico got Marcos Llorente on the right side of defence, and he's been superb this season. I think probably the best we've seen of Marcos Llorente at all. But then on the left-hand side, they have that doubt, which is probably where Simeone looks like he'll go with Samuel Lino, who's not a natural defender. To put him up against Rodrigo could be a big ask if Rodrigo is on it like he can be. And I think tonight getting that goal, which was kind of just one of those goals of pure determination and power in the finish, that could be a big confidence boost, which could make a big difference. And I think it's a very different matchup to last season where there was a different system. And I mean, they're kind of two mismatching systems, right? The Atletico with the back three, how does that link up against this Real Madrid system? It's going to be an interesting tactical battle. And I think first 10, 15 minutes, we're going to see a lot of kind of checking each other out, seeing what their plans are before anybody then goes for it. But I think it's going to be a very physical battle. And I think we'll see a lot of yellow cards, kind of the Madrid derbies of old. And I think it could come down to just which team finds that breakthrough first. If it's Atletico, then it's going to be backs against the wall for Atletico, and then Real Madrid could find themselves facing some of the challenges they've faced against other teams, against your Espanols, where you're up against a team playing low block but with a lot more quality. So I think it will be interesting, especially that first moment, to see who gets it.
Are you home now? Did you just get home? I noticed
I
you
am,
stopped
yeah.
walking. Okay. I'll let you go inside your house. Get ready for your big day tomorrow. I will probably, I'm assuming Ancelotti is getting to the podium now if he is not there already.
Yeah,
I don't
I'll imagine
actually,
he's probably speaking around about now, yeah.
he actually hasn't taken the podium yet. So he's
Perfect
probably, this is, when he's late, it's usually a sign of like he's in the locker room with the ruler stick. And he's handing out some lashes. He's giving the team talk. He said, "Guys, we can never, ever, ever close out a game like that again in our lives." But I'll read those
And you
quotes
can
as
always
they
tell
come
from
in.
his face, right? His face, as soon as he walks into the press room, okay. Carlo
Yeah, I
Ancelotti is
mean,
going to answer
serious.
two
Yeah.
questions with 3 words each, or he's going to be here for 45 minutes telling you his life story. So I think we can already guess which one it's going to be
What do
tonight.
you think all the questions are going to be about tonight?
I imagine there'll be a few about Endrick, about that incident, maybe about the referees, yellow cards, and then possibly, I think I saw somebody tweet down the Managing Madrid account. I didn't see too much of it in person, but was Vinicius cramping up? Maybe about his
So
fitness.
I maybe they'll ask about that. My read on that situation was, and I could be wrong, was that he was just taking his time,
Just cramp.
yeah, or just taking his time and holding something, and because we wanted to kill some time in that situation, and then he freaked out over the 6 minutes.
I went mad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess that. Maybe Jesus Vallejo, maybe what went wrong towards the end of the game. And then I imagine there will be a few questions already about Atletico, about this next 48 hours. Obviously, Atletico play on Thursday night this week. So, as we were talking about rotations and things, this next 48 hours for Real Madrid is a bonus compared to what Atletico will get, whatever team they put out. And they already made some changes at the weekend against Rayo Vallecano, so it could be interesting how Real Madrid can use this to their advantage ahead of Sunday.
Sam, thank you so much for your invaluable work covering all of this stuff at the Burnabout regularly for Managing Madrid. Appreciate you. Everyone can read Sam's stuff on the website. I'll stick around to do some more podcasting, but Sam, thank you for your time. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Ian.
All right,
Bye.
peace out. All right, guys, I'm going to do a quick note dump, and then I'm going to take a super chat or two. And just going to stop sharing my screen there. All right. Note dump time. This is just me going through my notepad, sharing with you guys what I got that maybe we haven't addressed already. The 1-0. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sequence. Fede channeling his inner Tony Cruz with this gorgeous diagonal switch to Vinicius, who cooks his defender. And then look at the off-ball movement from Vasquez. I think it's great because he starts off at the far post. Then he recognizes that Bellingham is actually dragging defenders to the far post, and he checks his run the other way, peels out, and meets that pass from Vinicius. I love that goal. The 2-0, absolutely ridiculous. That's just superstar shit from Mbappe. Creating goals out of nothing, the change of pace, insane. That's what you need more of. Like I said earlier in the podcast, I don't think this was a peak Mbappe game, but I thought that was a peak Mbappe goal, and you just need more of that, and just hope that every game is just a little bit more of peak Mbappe entering the fold. And then the 3-0, actually Rodrigo, I thought, had some poor touches and poor giveaways that Alaves just could not punish us for in the first half because our counter press and ball retention was actually good in the first half. But the 3-0 just effortless from Rodrigo to just casually cook his defender, finish from that ridiculous angle without even breaking a sweat. And then, of course, after that, all downhill. The 3-1 Modric giveaway, crazy good strike from Carlos Benavides. 3-2 Vallejo poor marking on Kike Garcia, who, by the way, I must remind you, is a dinosaur. He's 34. He moves like he's 44. So to lose him like that was just inexcusable from Vallejo. Um, yeah, I don't know if there's anything that we didn't discuss that we have already discussed. This felt like a lightning quick, fast topic changing podcast, but I think we got most of it. The Vasquez Fede Valverde tandem was interesting. They were interchangeable on numerous occasions, not just on the goal. Fede would drop in to the right back position. Vasquez would drop in almost as this like inverted right back, pseudo right CM at times, and their understanding and their chemistry was pretty good. Yeah, there were a few incidents with the referee that I was just very surprised about the yellow cards. Alaves did not pick up a single yellow card, and given the challenges in this game, that is just shocking. It's a shocking statistic. Yeah, I think we spoke about the attack. We spoke about the ball retention. We spoke about Bellingham. Spoke about Endrick. Spoke about Militao. Spoke about Vasquez. Spoke about Rodrigo, Rudiger, Fede. All right. Yeah, let me take some super chats and then call it an evening. Mortada says anxiety. You know what, brother? It wouldn't be a Real Madrid game without some suffering. So I think like around minute 70, 75, the footballing gods are like, wait a minute. The Madridistas haven't suffered tonight. What is up with that? You guys, who forgot to send the script down? And they quickly just made sure that we end the game with suffering after finally a good game that we were enjoying. But hey, man, this is therapy. Welcome to the therapy session. Avunu Oren Etega, apologize if I mispronounced that one, says failure to close down the shooter from outside the box, failure to track the runner, and more importantly, put pressure on the passer. Disappointing. I'm assuming you're speaking about Jesus Vallejo because you didn't put a name to it. But yeah, it was poor. Look, I get that it was his first game back, but there are certain fundamentals that are inexcusable. And the marking on Kike Garcia was not good. Our YouTube member Ankur Jyoti Bordaloy says, do you think Ramon should be ahead of Vallejo? At least give minutes to the kid. How much worse can he be? Also, no yellow from Mourinho with bad fouls on Vinny and Rodrigo. And on the 94th minute, the counterattack, Fran was foul atrocious. Yeah, all those calls, you're right. I had those two incidents down as a yellow card. No question. And Jacobo Ramon ahead of Vallejo. Look, he couldn't have been worse than what we saw today from Vallejo. Maybe it's just a matter of because Vallejo is just a little bit ahead in the pecking order in terms of seniority, maybe a little bit more experience under his belt, although it's not much, to be honest, at this stage, given that he's barely played in the last 2 years. And Jacobo Ramon, still coming off his own injury, so maybe they just wanted to ease him in. But yeah, there's certainly merit, especially when you look at the performance today. Nishlish Patel says, Endrick's breakfast eggs breakage unfortunately broke their game too. That moment seemed like when the crumble began. I actually have no idea what this is referring to, Nishlish. I have no idea. Maybe I missed something. If I Google right now, Endrick's breakfast eggs, am I going to find something? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I have no idea what the context behind this is. Sorry. Guys, today is Tuesday. How is it a Tuesday? Why does it feel like a Sunday night or something? It's Tuesday night, okay? Saturday we got the Atletico game. Or is it Sunday? I guess it's Sunday. Quick check. It's on Sunday. So here's what's important is that we have 4 podcasts from now until Sunday. One of them is a Atletico preview podcast with Jose, and we got 3 shows for our members, exclusive for our members. So tomorrow, Lucas and I are going to hop on, and I'm going to get to a few more super chats that just rolled in. So this podcast is far from over, but I'll just make this quick announcement. Lucas and I are jumping on for our members tomorrow for this segment we call El Dia Después. It's a segment we record the day after all of Real Madrid's games for our members, where we just reflect the day after. We get Lucas's insights, and knowing Lucas, I'm sure he's going to rip into the team for the way that game ended. That's tomorrow. Big Picture podcast every Thursday night. That's Matt and I. And then on Friday, you guys get the Jose Preview podcast. This is what it looks like, by the way. Because if you don't have Patreon in your country, because all the members' content is on patreon.com/managingmadrid. If you don't have Patreon in your country, you just hit join underneath this YouTube video. Just hit the memberships tab. And this is what it looks like. This is all the members-only content that went up recently. 1 day ago, 3 days ago, 4 days ago, 5 days ago, 8 days ago, 11 days ago, and on and on and on and on. The archive is infinite, and it will continually be just new episodes will be added to that, okay? I also put the link in the chat for you guys. It's also in the show notes, so just click on that. Back to Super Chats. Relic says, a shout out to the chat, committed but ignored. We love you, chat. We love you, chat. Guys, the chat there's like thousands of chat messages. I just can't. You know that, right? I cannot check it. There's no way. It would be a bad podcast experience for those listening, for me to constantly look at the chat and read comments and respond. So I can't. I appreciate you guys. I'm sure it's popping off, but I just realistically just cannot look at those. Nishlas Patel, knee to the crotch. I guess that's clarifying the eggs, Endrick eggs thing. Yes, okay, I got it. Yeah, that was actually pretty obvious. I'm sure everyone listening was like, how did you not get that? Yeah. Miggs says, if we're going to rotate the center backs before Camavinga gets back and we can play Tchouaméni as a center back, then honestly, yeah, I'd rather see what we've got in Jacobo Ramon, especially after Vallejo's performance today. I agree with you, by the way, Miggs. I have always been of the belief that if you have a choice between a up-and-coming, promising young player who you could develop and build for the future, and your choice is between that and somebody who doesn't really have a further future career with Real Madrid, then you should lean into picking the younger player who you want to develop. So I'm in agreement with this, and this is kind of goes back to the Kepa and Lunin thing. It's like, on one hand, you have a player who you could groom here and is a very good goalkeeper. On the other hand, you have a player who's probably not going to be here for much longer, right? So I agree with you. I think this is a valid point. And this is a sad thing to bring up and possibly neither here nor there, but I will just say it anyway. In preseason, I had said that there are going to be minutes for John Martinez. And they're not going to be that many, but there are going to be situations for sure, given that Nacho left and we didn't sign a center back, that Jean Martinez is going to play. One such occasion was tonight. And that breaks my heart. But I agree with your general point, Migs, for sure. Guys, we're going to wrap it here. See you guys tomorrow over on patreon.com/managingmadrid. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys for tuning in live. You guys are awesome. Hala Madrid therapy session. We're here. Let's hope for some more positive vibes after the Atletico game. And by the way, we won. We won. Just remember that. We won. And 80% of the game was fantastic. Thanks, guys. Kian Sobani signing off. Peace out.